There's no reason why I shouldn't be the best bisexual go-go dancer slowly transforming into a killer gorilla anyone's ever seen.
While on screen, the sitcom thrived on chaotic, nerdy antics, broken elevators, and wild experiments gone wrong. Off-screen, the atmosphere was far more controlled. What millions of fans never saw was the carefully enforced rulebook that the actors had to follow. Today, we'll go through everything that went on behind the scenes. It's going to be wild. Especially this one rule that Kaley Cuoco was forced to follow. You can't miss this one. Let's get started. Filmed before a live audience. When The Big Bang Theory premiered on September 24, 2007, on CBS, it carried with it a production style that had already begun to fade from mainstream television, filming in front of a live studio audience. The series, co-created by Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady, was taped on Stage 25 at Warner Brothers Studios in Burbank, California, the same soundstage used for classics like Friends and Full House. Each week, between 200 and 250 fans filled the bleachers, witnessing not just the finished product, but the often lengthy process of rehearsals, reshoots, and multiple takes required to get the timing perfect. This presence of an audience was not just cosmetic. Writers and actors relied on real-time laughter to measure which jokes landed and which needed reworking.
That is good news. Bye.
It also allows for my new chess pieces.
For a sitcom so heavily reliant on punchlines, many layered with scientific jargon and obscure pop culture references, this instant feedback was a huge help. Performing live, however, was not without its pressures. Scenes that pushed boundaries, such as Sheldon spanking Amy in Season 5's The Shiny Trinket Maneuver, were filmed in front of the audience. Jim Parsons, who portrayed Sheldon Cooper, admitted in interviews that performing such physically or emotionally intimate scenes could be nerve-wracking when hundreds of eyes were watching in silence before the burst of laughter. Kaley Cuoco, who played Penny, described the energy as like theater with safety nets, explaining that mistakes could be cut in editing. But the initial performance had to win over the crowd. The live setting demanded precision. If a joke didn't immediately generate laughter, it became evident to everyone on set. Adjustments were sometimes made on the spot by the writers. This approach to comedy was, by the late 2000s, increasingly unusual. Many sitcoms had begun moving away from multi-camera, live audience formats in favor of single-camera productions with no laugh track, such as The Office or Modern Family. Yet, The Big Bang Theory embraced the older model, much like Seinfeld or Cheers had done in earlier decades, and it proved to be a critical part of its success.
If I were to give up at the first little hitch, I never would have been able to identify the fingerprints of string theory in the aftermath of the Big Bang.
The authentic laughter lent the show a communal atmosphere that made home viewers feel as if they were part of the live crowd. Over the course of 12 seasons, ending in May 2019, after 279 episodes, the live audience became almost as iconic to the production as the apartment set or the comic book store.
TV comedy. After 279 episodes, The Big Bang Theory is coming to an end. The hit CBS show is now the longest-running multi-camera comedy.
Fans would line up for hours outside Warner Brothers to secure a seat, with tickets often sold out months in advance through audience services like Audiences Unlimited. But wait, we're just getting started. There's a lot more from where that came. Pop culture with limits. When The Big Bang Theory debuted in September 2007 on CBS, one of its most recognizable features was its unapologetic embrace of geek culture. Comic books, superheroes, and collectibles were woven into the daily lives of the characters, from Sheldon Cooper's obsession with The Flash to Howard Wolowitz's frequent Batman references. But viewers who paid close attention noticed that the pop culture landscape of the show leaned heavily toward DC Comics, with Superman posters on the walls, Justice League costumes during Halloween episodes, and a near-constant presence of DC-branded merchandise in Stuart Bloom's comic book store.
To the comic book store? You're probably thinking, the comic book store on a Thursday? Well, I've fallen down the rabbit hole and into a land of...
The imbalance wasn't accidental. Warner Brothers Television, which produced The Big Bang Theory, was a subsidiary of Warner Bros. Entertainment, the parent company of DC Comics. This corporate relationship made it simple and cost-effective for the series to showcase DC properties, since licensing fees and negotiations were streamlined. Marvel, however, presented a different story. By the late 2000s, Marvel Entertainment was building momentum that would soon transform it into a global powerhouse. In 2008, just months after The Big Bang Theory's first season, Iron Man launched the Marvel Cinematic Universe, beginning a franchise that would eventually dominate global box offices. Licensing Marvel characters for The Big Bang Theory would have required separate, costly agreements, especially after Marvel was acquired by the Walt Disney Company in 2009. Disney's ownership not only heightened Marvel's profile, but also introduced stricter corporate controls over how its characters could be depicted on outside properties. For Warner Brothers, relying on in-house DC characters was both financially practical and strategically aligned, particularly as DC itself was trying to compete with Marvel's rapidly expanding film universe. That isn't to say Marvel was completely absent from the series. Writers occasionally slipped in verbal nods to the rival publisher. One of the most notable exceptions came in Season 3, Episode 16, The Excelsior Acquisition, which aired on March 1, 2010.
The Big Bang Theory. This is Season 3, Episode 16, and Leonard wound up taking Raj. Super funny episode.
In this episode, the legendary Marvel creator Stan Lee made a guest appearance, playing himself. The storyline revolved around Sheldon missing out on meeting Lee due to a court date, ultimately leading to an awkward, uninvited visit to Lee's home in Los Angeles. Beyond Lee's cameo, Marvel content was limited to passing remarks or visual Easter eggs, never reaching the prominence of DC materials. While Sheldon could dress up as the Flash multiple times and the group could debate over Batman's gadgets, the Avengers were largely sidelined. In hindsight, this imbalance offers an intriguing snapshot.
This is how the Flash paces.
Just chill out, Sheldon.
I'm not Sheldon, I'm the Flash.
Of corporate entertainment in the late 2000s and 2010s, an era when Warner Brothers was leveraging one of television's biggest comedies to reinforce its own comic brand, while Disney was building Marvel into a juggernaut that needed no sitcom boost. By the time the show ended in May 2019, both franchises had cemented their legacies. However, in Leonard and Sheldon's Pasadena apartment, DC remained the undisputed king. Hang on, though. The boundaries don't end here. The Sacred Script. From its pilot episode on September 24, 2007, to its finale on May 16, 2019, the series maintained a strict no improvisation rule on set. Unlike shows that encouraged actors to riff or ad-lib for comedic effect, the writing staff of The Big Bang Theory treated each script as a meticulously composed piece of music. Every line was carefully structured for rhythm, timing, and delivery. Melissa Rauch, who played Bernadette Rostenkowski-Wolowitz, once compared the experience to performing a concerto, noting that changing even a single note risked disrupting the flow of dialogue and punchlines.
I think all branches of science have to move cautiously these days. It's not just giant nuclear weapons that can destroy the world.
Jim Parsons, who played Sheldon Cooper across all 279 episodes, frequently dealt with long, complex lines filled with advanced physics terminology, scientific theories, and cultural references that could easily trip up even the most seasoned actor. To master this, he relied on index cards filled with his dialogue, often carrying them around to rehearse between scenes and even offset. Parsons admitted in interviews that the density of his lines made him treat acting on The Big Bang Theory more like preparing for an academic exam than a traditional sitcom role.
The Earth began to cool, the artichokes began to drool, math, science, history, unraveling the mystery. It all started with the Big Bang.
His dedication paid off. He bagged 4 Primetime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series and a Golden Globe. The show's strict adherence to scripts didn't mean that spontaneity never slipped through, but such moments were rare and often became memorable precisely because of their exceptionality. One of the best-known examples came in Season 5, Episode 12, The Shiny Trinket Maneuver, which aired on January 12, 2012. In this episode, Sheldon gifts Amy Farrah Fowler, played by Mayim Bialik, a tiara as a way of making amends after neglecting her achievements. Amy's over-the-top reaction, screaming with joy, jumping up and down, and declaring, "I'm a princess," was so exaggerated and genuine that it became one of the most iconic moments of the series.
You look beautiful.
Of course I do! I'm a princess and this is my tiara!
Though scripted in concept, Bialik's enthusiastic performance pushed beyond the page, and the producers decided to keep it. Playful, but controlled. In the early years of The Big Bang Theory, the cast developed a reputation for being lighthearted off-camera, often engaging in playful antics between takes. However, this atmosphere shifted dramatically after a serious accident involving Kaley Cuoco, who played Penny. On September 11, 2010, during the filming hiatus between Seasons 3 and 4, Cuoco fell from her horse while riding at a ranch in Los Angeles. She suffered a severely broken leg that required emergency surgery and the insertion of 2 metal rods. Cuoco had to be absent from 2 episodes early in Season 4, with her character written out temporarily under the pretext of being away. After this event, producers and crew became more cautious about maintaining consistency and avoiding disruptions in shooting. Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady, the show's co-creators, quietly introduced an unspoken but strict rule on set: no practical jokes or stunts that could risk injury to the actors. Unlike other sitcom sets where pranks were part of the camaraderie, such as the famously mischievous atmosphere of Friends or The Office, The Big Bang Theory operated under a policy of playful but controlled. Cast members like Jim Parsons and Johnny Galecki recalled in interviews that the set was fun and relaxed, but the production team prioritized safety and efficiency above all else. The risk of even minor injuries, which could delay rehearsals or live audience tapings, was considered too high when each week's schedule was packed with long days of blocking, rehearsals, rewrites, and performance. Each episode was shot over 5 days on the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank, California, with Mondays devoted to table reads, Tuesdays and Wednesdays to rehearsals and rewrites, Thursdays to pre-shoots, and Fridays to live audience tapings. Any disruption risked throwing off this carefully structured cycle. With production costs running at nearly $2 million per episode in the early seasons and ballooning to around $9 million by the final season, keeping things on schedule was critical. A delay could impact not only CBS's broadcasting pipeline, but also syndication and international sales, where The Big Bang Theory became one of the most profitable sitcoms ever, generating over $1 billion in syndication revenue by 2019. The no pranks rule did not mean the set lacked humor.
Oh, hey, look. Signature.
Cast members often spoke about the warmth of their working environment and the strong bonds that developed over 12 seasons. Kaley Cuoco, despite her accident, remained known for her upbeat spirit, and Jim Parsons frequently praised the professionalism of his colleagues. However, their playfulness was channeled into performances rather than behind-the-scenes antics. This sense of discipline, forged in part from Cuoco's accident, ensured that production ran smoothly over 279 episodes across 12 seasons, all without any major on-set incidents. Appearance rules. From the outset of The Big Bang Theory, producers set strict rules regarding the physical appearance of the characters. Because the series relied heavily on continuity, with storylines unfolding in a linear and closely connected way from week to week, the creative team wanted to ensure the characters' looks remained consistent throughout the show's 12 seasons and 279 episodes. One of the firmest rules imposed by showrunner Chuck Lorre and executive producer Bill Prady was a prohibition on drastic physical changes, particularly facial hair. The actors were expected to appear on set clean-shaven unless a storyline specifically required otherwise. For example, in Season 3, when Sheldon and the boys embarked on a 3-month research expedition to the magnetic North Pole, their characters returned with heavy beards to emphasize the passage of time in harsh conditions. Yet even then, the beards were artificial. The production team preferred controlled adjustments over genuine changes. Real beards would have required weeks of growth, risking inconsistencies in pickup shots or reshoots, while also creating complications for promotional appearances and continuity across episodes. By keeping physical transformations under the careful oversight of the makeup and wardrobe teams, producers ensured the characters would remain visually recognizable to audiences. The show's wardrobe was equally regulated. Each character's costume was finalized early in production and rarely deviated from established patterns, reflecting not only personality traits, but also branding considerations. Simon Helberg's portrayal of Howard Wolowitz, for example, became instantly identifiable by his signature skinny jeans, bold belt buckles, and high-neck shirts. Helberg himself once admitted in interviews that the jeans were so tight they were uncomfortable during long tapings. Yet, they were essential in reinforcing Wolowitz's wannabe rock star aesthetic. Similarly, Mayim Bialik's Amy Farrah Fowler, who joined the series in Season 3 and became a regular from Season 4 onward, was defined by her layered costumes: long skirts, cardigans, tights, and modest blouses. Costume designer Mary T. Quigley explained that Amy's heavy layers and muted colors were deliberately chosen to contrast her intellectual brilliance with her socially awkward demeanor, visually separating her from Penny, whose wardrobe reflected California casual fashion. Jim Parsons was asked to keep Sheldon's look neat and unchanged across seasons, while Kaley Cuoco's decision to cut her hair into a pixie style
Big girl job with her big girl haircut. And it's kind of cool. There's a lot of new things, and she's engaged, which is exciting. And
for Season 8 in 2014 sparked significant fan debate. Though Cuoco's haircut was her personal choice, it demonstrated how even minor visual alterations could impact the audience's perception of a long-running sitcom. Despite such exceptions, the overall mandate was consistency. Staying grounded in stardom. When The Big Bang Theory became a global hit, its producers recognized the potential risk of sudden stardom unsettling the balance of the cast. Lorre and Prady made a deliberate effort to prevent egos from overshadowing the ensemble spirit. They were keenly aware that sitcom history was full of examples where behind-the-scenes rivalries damaged both morale and storytelling, and they wanted to avoid repeating those mistakes. One of their strategies was to emphasize the ensemble nature of the show at every opportunity. While Jim Parsons, who played Sheldon Cooper, received significant acclaim, winning 4 Primetime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Lead Actor.
A couple of funny Emmy winners from The Big Bang Theory, Jim Parsons and Bob Newhart,
who won his first Emmy just last week.
In a comedy series between 2010 and 2014, the producers made it clear that the series' appeal rested on the chemistry among all 7 main cast members. This collaborative mindset became especially important as the cast renegotiated contracts in 2014, with Parsons, Johnny Galecki, and Kaley Cuoco securing $1 million per episode salaries. Even during such negotiations, which risked creating divides, the production emphasized fairness and team unity. In fact, in 2017, 5 of the main actors, Parsons, Galecki, Cuoco, Simon Helberg, and Kunal Nayyar, agreed to take pay cuts of $100,000 per episode so that Mayim Bialik and Melissa Rauch could...
Hi, I'm Melissa Rauch, my good friend, our newest guest star, the amazingly talented Mayim Bialik.
could receive raises to $500,000 per episode. This was indeed a rare demonstration of solidarity in the industry. Beyond contractual matters, the producers also cultivated off-set bonding to keep relationships strong and grounded. Cast retreats were organized to encourage relaxation and camaraderie, with informal activities like table tennis becoming a favorite pastime among the actors. Kunal Nayyar, who played Raj Kuthrapali, often mentioned in interviews how competitive ping-pong matches helped break the tension between long studio tapings at Warner Bros. Stage 25 in Burbank, California. The showrunners also set a tone by maintaining an environment of respect and stability behind the scenes. Chuck Lorre, who had experienced both the highs and lows of Hollywood with previous sitcoms such as 2.5 Men and Dharma and Greg, believed that ego clashes could undermine production schedules and the creative process. To prevent this, he fostered an atmosphere where grievances were aired privately rather than publicly, often holding one-on-one talks with actors if tensions began to surface. This helped maintain a sense of professionalism and trust. Science done right. Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady wanted to create a comedy that did not simply parody nerds, but genuinely reflected the world of academia. To achieve this, they developed a strict commitment to accuracy whenever physics, mathematics, or engineering appeared on the whiteboards or in the dialogue.
And he was on Will's podcast, so they know each other.
Go on his Instagram, see if you can find anything.
Early in the show's run, the production brought on UCLA physics and astronomy. Professor David Saltzberg as the official science consultant. Saltzberg reviewed every script that contained equations, theories, or scientific terminology, ensuring they would be authentic. He also supplied the equations written on Sheldon and Leonard's whiteboards, which often referenced real, contemporary research. For example, in the Season 2 episode, The Codpiece Topology, the chalkboard displayed equations related to particle physics that were directly drawn from active research at CERN. This attention to detail became a hallmark of the series and helped the show gain credibility among actual scientists. Saltzberg later noted in interviews that the equations on the whiteboards were always real, even if they were not always directly tied to the scene's dialogue. Sometimes the mathematics referenced cutting-edge discoveries, such as the Higgs boson, before they entered mainstream news. This dedication to realism also extended to props and set design, where technical journals, correctly labeled textbooks, and working lab equipment were used to reinforce the sense of authenticity. Rather than treating science as a gimmick, the show treated it as part of the character's lived reality. A unique advantage for the series came in 2010, when Mayim Bialik joined the cast as Amy Farrah Fowler, a neurobiologist introduced in the Season 3 finale and established as a main character in Season 4. Bialik was not only a former child star, known for her lead role in the 1990s sitcom Blossom, but also held a PhD in neuroscience from UCLA, awarded in 2007. Her dissertation focused on hypothalamic activity in patients with Prader-Willi syndrome, a rare genetic disorder affecting growth and appetite regulation. Unlike most actors playing scientists, Bialik had first-hand experience in academic research. As she explained in interviews, her background allowed her to understand the scripts on a technical level and occasionally fact-check them. Though she did not write scientific dialogue herself, she sometimes offered corrections when a term was misused or a phrasing was inauthentic. The collaboration between Saltzberg and Bialik strengthened the show's scientific reputation. While Saltzberg ensured physics and mathematics were rigorous, Bialik gave credibility to neuroscience and biology references, especially in episodes where Amy's research was mentioned. For instance, in Season 6, Amy discusses experiments involving primates and brain imaging techniques, and the language mirrored actual scientific methods. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.